Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. BTM here, bringing you another Age of Empires 3 match. Super stoked, bringing you a 1v1 on Great Plains. I'm playing Russian, playing a little bit of a double Russian week thing going on here against Ottomans, and I was super stoked when I found this game. It was a 1v1 in the matchmaking lobbies because I had lost to Interjection and he was Ottoman, and I felt like I needed to redeem myself. I thought, you know what? Interjection's a hell of a great player, but I'm BigThunderMan, damn it, and I can do better. So I was excited to play somebody on my own rank and see if I could indeed beat an Ottoman one-on-one, because I felt after my game with Interjection like I lost because of my own faults, not because of Interjection's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I definitely felt like I could have competed a little bit better than I did. So I'm very excited here to watch and see if I can indeed beat an Ottoman of the rank that the online rating system has given me, and to see if I am indeed a good enough player. Now, right off the bat, you can tell, or you can not tell, I mean, it's pretty obvious right there that it happened, but as you can see, I got a Wichita Scout, which was simply fabulous. And here, by the way, I'm playing with the camera controls. I haven't played in a few days. I got a Wichita Scout, which is simply fabulous and is going to be crucial to my game efforts. Not to mention, I found two very massive herds right by my town center. I found my second and my third herd, and I will get both of them on the way, and I will back herd them to me. But that Wichita Scout is going to be absolutely crucial, and the reason why is because we need to know what the Ottoman is doing. Is he going Janissary? Is he going Hussar? Is he going Abyss? Or is he going to a fast fortress? Or even if you're Interjection, is he fast revolting or fast industrial? Who knows? I don't, but the scout will help me kind of scout around. And now some ways I'm going to look at the Ottoman player and try to figure out what he's doing is I'm going to be paying careful attention to the buildings he's building, and I'm also going to pay very careful attention to the resource gathering he's doing. If he gathers only 300 coin, and I can see that from a mine when I'm running by, then I will know he's going straight onto a fast fortress. By the way, I look at his deck, it's a pretty substandard deck. Either way, it's kind of a jack of all trades deck. Perhaps not a super high level deck, simply because it doesn't have many resource upgrades or like long-term upgrades. As you can see here, my scout's getting a little bit of trouble. I missed that in game. But anyway, so it's going to be very crucial for me to keep my scout alive. I got so lucky finding that scout immediately. And so I'm going to use that scout, and combined with that knowledge, I'm going to use it to survive. Now, I send my first card as Economic Theory, and the reason why I send Economic Theory first is because I'm not going to use Strelets to get him against him no matter what units he's using. That's right, no Strelets. I know when you play Russia, you expect Strelets. It is what Russia does, but I'm going to go with Cossacks, and there's another reason why I'm going to go with Cossacks, but I'm going to break into that a little bit later. But point being is that I decided already before the game even started I wanted to go with my Cossack deck and use Cossacks. Now, that's why I sent Economic Theory. Normally with Russia, you should always send Distributionism, I believe it's called, something like that. And what it does is it's like a wood trickle card. You get a really solid wood trickle. And some players say send 300 wood earlier. In fact, I believe in one of my older videos, I actually advised people to send 300 wood instead. But I would, in this case, if you play a longer game, Distributism pays off within like 8 to 9 minutes of gameplay. So if you can hold off not having the initial immediate 300 wood, you should definitely go with Distributism instead. But I'm not going to go with Distributism because I know something that the other player doesn't know. And the thing that I know is that because I'm not going to be going with a mainly Strelet based army, it makes no sense for me to send a wood gathering card, whereas I can send Economic Theory, get a food upgrade, and get a coin upgrade gathering, since I'm going to be primarily gathering food and coin, not to mention a 10% to wood. Economic Theory is simply a fabulous card. I believe it's the equivalent of a first age market upgrade. Those are either 10% or 15%. Now I want to say they're 15%. I don't know. I should check. I'll post a link, or I'll just post whether Discovery Age upgrades are worth 10 or 15% in the description in case you're wondering for like very technical reasons. So, but that's why I don't go with Distributism. I feel like the card is vastly overrated. Literally, when you talk to other players in Rush, they go, Distributism, you could get 500 wood in 10 minutes a game. Blah, 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 blah. It's so amazing. Yes, but if you send a 10% gathering rate to your food and you have 15 villagers gathering, you're going to get more than 500 resources in 10 minutes. Trust me on this one. The math is solid. So all things considered, when I'm playing a 1v1 and I'm not going specifically Strelets and I don't specifically need that wood as immediately as quickly. How about as quickly? When I don't need that wood as quickly as possible, I do not send Distributism. I don't find it to be a wise or a helpful card. I prefer Economic Theory, and in fact, in 2v2s, 3v3s, and 4v4s, I prefer to send Team Furrier, because that gives all my team a 10% upgrade to food, and because food is the most important resource in the game, arguably, everybody gathers food, and it is literally what we all use for every unit, from villagers to military. I highly, highly recommend sending Team Furrier instead, but it is a matter of personal preference. I could do the math, though, and I do believe Team Furrier in Team Games is better, but that is besides myself. I aged to the Colonial Age, by the way, with 14 villagers, as opposed to the mandatory or ordinary 17. Russians can age with 17 villagers, a little bit more of an economic-y strategy, whereas you can age with 14 villagers, and it kind of gets you up a little bit faster. As you can see, he's walking five Janissaries into my base, so it's pretty clear that he's going with some early pressure. Not to mention, he already killed one of my villagers on the peripherals in my town, and he's obviously just going for the standard lame Janissary strategy. So my response to that is going to be sending 13 Strelets and then going straight with the Cossacks. And the reason why is I've already scouted out an artillery foundry on the map. I suspect at this point that he sent the 5 Janissary card, and there are no more Janissaries coming. The rest are going to be Abyss guns. So I feel like it's a very nice thing for me. Now, as you can see here, I pop in my town center, but he ends up running away, which is fine. And as you can see, I just have a truckload of buffalo by my TC, because I was able to backherd very well. Backherd all that buffalo to my TC. Not to mention, I was also able to gather a 95 wood treasure earlier in the game, as you saw, which allowed me to only gather 5 more wood and build a house. So now I'll have 50 population, and I will have I'll be pretty good to go. I'm pretty set on resources in my town center. It's a very defendable position, and I have a stable up. I probably should have added a blockhouse, but it's not the end of the world. As you can see here now, 13 Strelets on 5 Janissaries, and he's running away. But I am going to end up picking one off, so now it's 12 on 4, and now we're going to just kind of do this hit and run shenanigans. And again, remember, as I said, I have seen his artillery foundry, so I'm not in danger of not knowing what's going on, because knowledge is power, right? We hear that knowledge is power, knowledge is power, but knowledge is power. I know what unit he's going to make, and I'm specifically making units right now to counter him. I know he's got an artillery foundry up, and I know he sent the 5 Janissary card. That puts me in a fantastic position for just knowing what's going on and for taking advantage of it. And I'm going to take a drink really fast, just because my throat is a little sore. My apologies. Anyway, let's get back into the action here. As you can see, he kind of catches me off guard. I was looking away, and he starts meleeing my Strelets. I do believe melee attack against light infantry with heavy infantry is generally more effective than not. But as you can see here, he's got some Grenadiers, so I was a little bit wrong. I was expecting him to go mainly Abyss, but he went Grenadiers instead. And I gotta say, if you've seen some of my British work, I love Grenadiers. They are such a fabulous unit. People don't use them enough in games, so obviously, using Grenadiers is fantastic, but what we are going to do is we're going to wait till we get all our Cossacks together. We're going to lure in his Grenadiers with my Strelets, and then we're going to go and eat them alive. Now, the important thing I want to focus on here is I knew he had an artillery foundry, and I knew that everything that came out of the artillery foundry, whether Grenadier or Abyss, was indeed weak to Cossacks. So that put me in a fabulous position. As you can see here, he's got a bunch of Grenadiers and 3 Janissaries trying to attack me down. I'm just going to make sure that the Cossacks stay on the Grenadiers, and I'm going to send in the Strelets to kind of pick off the Janissaries. And I'm in a fabulous point. Sorry, the word just sounded funny to me all of a sudden while saying it. But I'm in a fabulous point. His initial rush has failed pretty hard, and that's actually going to allow me to send Spice Theory after sending 5 Cossacks and 13 Strelets. I'm now able to send a primarily economic card that will keep my economic engine going and allow me to really kind of swing the game in my favor in a big way. As you can see here, his initial rush has been nerfed pretty hard. If he had gone pure Janissaries, I would have been in trouble, but I would have instead probably just switched to a more food wood perspective and built up a blockhouse earlier. Now, he popped out 5 Janissaries there, and I kind of freaked out a little bit, so I think I ran away from there, even though I probably could have won that fight with the amount of Cossacks I had. I had 11 Cossacks. I probably could have won that fight, and that was probably an error on my part. I just didn't want to lose Cossacks unnecessarily, you know what I mean? I feel like it's very foolish, and it happens a lot where people freak out and they lose units or they pick fights they shouldn't win, but sometimes they do the reverse like I just did there. I ran away from a fight I probably could have won. But as you can see here, I'm kind of retooling my economy a bit. I have 6 on wood, which is more than I need, and I'm kind of getting my Cossacks around and down the bottom of the map. I want to kind of get some raiding. I want to put some pressure on him, and as you can see here, he's done a fabulous job. He's back in my base with, what, 10 Janissaries, maybe 8 Janissaries. He simply did a fantastic job getting pressure on me. He's able to pick off a few villagers, slow down my economy, but I'm going to have none of that. I'm going to pop them in and out right away because he clearly just walked in and walked out. No offense to him, but he should have kind of threatened a little bit more, kind of walked forward a bit, walked away a bit, and that would have actually led me to have to take his threat seriously because I believe 5 Janissaries or 4 Janissary shots are enough to kill a villager, and he does do it right here, as you can see. He does come in with 4 Hussar, obviously shipped from the home city. And as you can see here, I'm going to run my Cossacks in between. I'm making Strelets. I'm going to probably have to summon some Minutemen. And I just decided, you know what, I don't need all my villagers hiding in my town center. I need to gather resources because he's focusing on destroying that blockhouse. So I am going to be a little bit risky here, as I am, of course, killing villagers in his own town center. And I'm going to let my villagers outside of my town center to gather resources because I know he's focusing on taking down that blockhouse. Meanwhile, my 10 Strelets come out, and now I'm going to make Minutemen because I don't want to lose this game. I do have 5 Cossacks sitting in the back of my base that I forgot about until this point, but as you can see here, I'm trying to rally an effective defense while keeping most of my units or most of my villagers still gathering, which is very, very foolish. As you can see here, though, I pop some in, and it does you no good, by the way, to have more than 10 villagers in your town center because you only have an attack bonus for up to 10 villagers. I think they add like 10 attack or something like that. So knowing that there was no purpose for me to have more than 10 villagers in my town center to max out my attack, I did want to keep as many of my villagers out gathering as I could, provided they weren't going to be killed. And as you can see here, we kill all but 4 or 5 of his Strelets, but he's shooting at me, but he didn't focus the fire until the end, so he was only able to kill 1. Meanwhile, I have 8 Cossacks still alive, and he's going to have to back out of my town, and I have 4 more Cossacks just popped. And now I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago when I faced his Cossacks elsewhere, or his Janissaries in his base in my initial push. I should have just killed him straight up there and kept sieging the buildings, but I didn't. I could have kept up production. Now, as you can see, I'm in a little bit more of a bad way. I have 11 on wood, and that's just because I've been under pressure shifting villagers so quickly. It's going to take me a few seconds here to kind of get my economy sorted out. However, I do have 15 Cossacks on the field. The 4 Cossacks card, the 5 Cossacks card are fabulous, and there's a reason why Cossacks are a much, much more viable strategy with Russians than they are with other civilizations. And let me explain this to you. Cossacks cost 1 population, and look at that army come back in. Wow. He just got back in and on the field, immediately getting some heavy pressure on me. He does not want to give me even a single inch of breathing room. So I end up deleting the blockhouse I'm working on, by the way. I end up building another one behind my town center. I'm expecting at this point that I will likely lose a forward blockhouse, and a lot of these buildings I had already popped my Minutemen and lost them, and I had barely survived the initial attack. So I was kind of like, well, I'm in some big, big trouble here at this point. I do have a lot of villagers out gathering because obviously I can't afford to not gather resources against an Ottoman. His units are strong. I rely on the spam. I need to be able to spam my units. But as you can see here, he's kind of working to take down that blockhouse. I'm building another blockhouse back behind my town center, and I am going to put out a few villagers, not all of them, but maybe about half of them from my town center. So I want the town center to still have a very, very good ranged attack, but I don't want the town center to have all the villagers in there because it's useless and it's idle villager time. So my goal here was to keep my town as defensive as possible, the bonus from my town center as good as possible, while meanwhile, of course, gathering as many resources as possible. And here, as you can see, I get a massive raid off on him, and that kind of evens up the game a bit, and he pulls back. He's only got, 5 Janissaries, if that, maybe 4 or 3 Abyss guns. Meanwhile, I killed 8 or 9 of his villagers. While most of my villagers are still relatively alive, I have 10 Strelets now to back up my town center, and I'm out of population room. Story of my life. It's just like sometimes I play well, sometimes I don't, but I'm out of population room. But population room, by the way, guys, is why Cossacks are so effective, and I'm going to break down the science for you, or the math, I should say, because this game is a mathematical game. Let me explain this for you. Each unit has a hidden wood cost that you don't know about. And what I mean by that is for each population that a unit costs, that's 10 wood. for each population cost. So a bombard, let's say a great bombard, I believe it costs 6 or 7 population. You secretly have a wood cost, a one-time wood cost of 70 wood that also needs to be paid with it. Because if you don't pay that 70 wood, then you can't afford to have the housing for the unit, right? Basically, the hidden wood cost is, in my eyes, the basic housing cost of the unit. Now, Cossacks are phenomenal because they're cheaper than Hussar. Yes, they're cheaper than Hussar. They are a little bit weaker than Hussar. Yes, but they're very, very close. But they have a significant less wood cost. And in a game like this, where you're trying to mass cav, having about half the wood cost of a normal Hussar is actually a fabulous benefit. As you can see here, though, I am trying to get more rating on in case you're wondering what's going on the screen. I've survived his push. He survived kind of my counter, my minor counter to his middle base. My economy is actually 20 points ahead of him at this point. At this point, I kind of was like, wait a minute, I'm going to win this. I didn't think I was initially going to win it, but at this point, I'm like, I'm going to win it. My blockhouse behind my town center is going to protect me, and villager... Excuse me, morning burps. That is very awkward, guys. I am so sorry. Wow. Okay, but as you can see, I totally lost my train of thought with my burp. Do you guys ever go to a dinner, right? And you have a young family member, right, who just burps absurdly loudly, and then like kind of pauses, awkwardly looks around, and then laughs about it? That's what I just feel like. I'm so sorry. But as I was saying, Cossacks are incredibly cost effective because they don't need as much wood to deal with their population as other units, which allow you to mass them a lot easier and get more of them out. Not to mention they're cheaper. So even against an Ottoman, I had no hesitation and no worry about going with a Cossack immediately. I knew that if I made a batch of Cossacks, I could switch to Sherlets fairly easily, and then of course I could then move on with my life and use the Cossacks to raid. But and that's pretty much more or less what we've done here, although in a little bit of a less abbreviated pattern. As you can see here, though, I'm still trying to struggle with housing. Struggling. I do, by the way, have the team dueling school instead of dueling school, and this is a mistake on my part, because if I was known that I was going to have a single player, what I'm trying to say is I should have had a single player cavalry deck. I should have had a multiplayer cavalry deck. In my single player cavalry deck, I should have had the regular fencing school with the much higher bonus, and in the team game, I should have had the team school because everybody loves team game cards. But I didn't, because I just have one deck and I made it for team cards. So it does kind of nerf me a little bit. Meanwhile, I am circling my cavalry around the map. And what I do when I run my cavalry, I try kind of, what's the word? I try to be deceptive, but purposely. Like, I want him to see my cavalry on one side of the map, and then I want to circle around to another and pop there. I really, I want to cause him problems. I don't want him to be like, oh, you're over there, and know where I'm coming from. So I was happy here because he saw me kill a villager on the other side, and now hopefully I will be popping out and coming around here and getting some raiding on. But as you can see, he's built some towers very wisely. Towers are actually a fabulous unit, and that of course is going to protect those two herds right there. Meanwhile, there comes his army, and that was great for me. I was looking at that, what, eight Janissaries, 7 or 8 Abyss guns. Yes, I will go kill that with my 40 Strelets. And my plan at this point is like, you know what? I survived his pressure. My economy is just all of a sudden soared. His is stagnated. Obviously, my rating on him was a lot worse than his rating on me. By the way, I built a market, and I'm buying market upgrades. BTM, why you so noob? You know build market upgrades? Well, I just built market upgrades. How do you feel about that one? But joking aside, as you can see here, having run past his army, that little skirmish there, I feel no hesitation about pushing forward. Also, if I look at his score, I know that economically he's not in a good spot. So even though I'm going to lose more units than I possibly could, I could fight this better and lose less units and kind of hit and run and do a lot better of a job. It's worth more to me tactically in terms of winning the game at this particular point to come in to smash his army with my Strelets and my Cossacks, let a lot of Cossacks die and act as a meat shield while the Strelets do their thing, and I'm going to just finish him off. Now he is going to play pretty resiliently. I would have quit here, not because I'm a quitter, but just because it's pretty much GG. Look at the score difference, a 40 point score difference, which is equivalent to 30%, 20%. Wait, 30%? No, it's a 50%. My economy is more. Wait, at this point, his score's at 60. My economy is literally twice as big as his. It's 100% score difference at this point. he obviously can't win. I neutered his rush, and now I have a huge mass of units, pretty obviously. So the rest of the game is going to be me wondering, why don't you just resign already while I hunt him down and I kill everything? But as you can see there, that's a little bit of a Cossack strategy. Now, one of my viewers in a previous video said, BTM, I'd love to get a more specific build order from you. You don't really give them, you just kind of give principle. And I'd like to first off say, I give principle because I feel like principle always trumps build order. You cannot know a good build order, but if you know the principles of the game, it doesn't matter what civilization you're playing with, you can generally win. That's just true. There's players who can play with every civilization. Now, there are some players who are experts with one or two civilizations, and I have respect for them, but personally, the way I like to play with all the civilizations. I like to rotate. You know how I do. Anyway, he pops out Minutemen there, by the way, but it's way too late for him to save the town, and I split up my army. One half's going to go take down the towers and kill the villagers. The other half's going to smash his main town. Normally, again, you just run away from the Minutemen in order to protect yourself, but there's absolutely no need for me to do things such as those. Now, what I do want to point out here, though, that is very crucial, is in terms of the Russian Cossack build order, what I was going to say is, I think principle trumps build order. With that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of a build order that I kind of follow in my head when I go with a Cossack mainly strategy. The first thing I do is I age with either 14 or 17 villagers, and 17's for a more economic gameplay style, which is what I love. I play Europa Universalis, I play Civilization, I play Treaty. I love economy. Economy is where it's at, guys. So if you're playing against a civilization that's not going to fast rush you, 17 villagers is a very good age up option. It's a little bit more seamless. You don't have any idle TC time if you do it right. Generally, 17 villagers is a better choice of age up options. It allows you to hit the colonial a little bit stronger, possibly get up a market and do other good things such as those. But 14 is very crucial in its own right against civilizations such as Ottoman, or maybe even a Spanish player trying to fast fortress. When you want to get out there, you want to get some pressure, and you want to get that town center down as fast as is possible. So 14 is for situations where you need to be out and on the field fighting quicker than normal, because Russia does have a very potent and quick and strong rush. Now, so you either age, you can pick. Now, your first card, if it, like I said, personally, if you're going with Cossacks, I believe Economic Theory is the better first card. If you're on a team game, I would send Team Furrier, just because I like to help out my teammates. Stronger teammates actually makes my life makes your life a lot easier. And by the way, you may notice here, I tell them GG, because it's so good game at this point. Why are you even wait? Now you're just being a douche and wasting my time. No offense, but it's just kind of really, I mean, I'm a big believer in fighting till the very end, you know that. But this is pretty much more or less the very end. There's nothing you can do at this point, and there's, when you're in my situation, like early in the game, when you're under a lot of pressure and you fight it through and you do that, okay, that's heroics. This is just frustration. So, but as I was saying before I interrupted myself with a random blurb of thought, the card order, obviously, Economic Theory or Furrier, you don't need Distributism because you don't need that much wood. Like I kind of briefly rambled through, Cossacks have a much lower wood cost than a lot of other units, so it's not the end of the world to not send it. I find Economic Theory to be way more valuable. Team Furrier is better for your whole team in general and is a little bit helpful, so I like using that card as well. Now, you age to the second age. Obviously, you age with 400 wood. You would build a house, 2 houses, and a stable. That's fairly standard operating procedure. Build 2 houses and a stable. Then, generally your first card from here varies. If you're not under trouble, I love sending Spice Trade right away. It gives you a huge boost to your economic strength. And then I'd follow that up with the Silversmith, which gives you a huge boost to your coin gathering. If you're under a little bit more pressure, or you want to get a little bit pressure faster, 5 Cossacks is a fabulous option. If you're facing Musketeers or a very fast rush, 13 Struts is a very important option. It's a crucial part of your strategy, as you saw here. Both of those are good options. So then from there, you really kind of have to be flexible. If he's going with a more aggressive strategy, you probably need to send your units right away. If he's going with a little bit more of a passive strategy, you need to send your economic upgrades right away. 5 Cossacks won't be more valuable than a huge economic boom. So, from there, you just max out Cossack. You can use throw in Musketeers as necessary. Keep making Villager, buy the market upgrades. That's a horribly generic game strategy. That's generally how I play my game strategies. I don't really freak out and say I need to do this at this time and that at that time, because generally that's not that effective relatively to everything else, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But as you can see here, I'm about to finish hunting him down. I got Surlets on the way, and there's not much more he can do here. And not to be mean, but it's kind of like you lost, and there's no honor at this point in playing on, in my opinion. My opinion's worth a grain of salt, so you don't have to like it or not. I believe in fighting on, you know, and not ever giving up. But there's also a point where I feel like you need to be respectful of your opponent. You know what I mean? Like with interjection, I could have ran villagers all around the map. He can't make more units. I could have built towers and boats and tried to hide, but it's rude, right? So I don't believe in doing that. But either way, it was a good game. He wanted a rematch. I feel bad because I recorded this. I had to go render it, and I didn't fight him back, so I hope he's not pissed off. I did tell him to come watch this, but he seemed like, okay, rematch. He kind of seemed like he thought he could beat me, and not to be rude, but he played Ottoman, which is an overpowered civilization, and a lot of gameplay areas are weak with the Ottoman that don't kind of lend yourself to better playing, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I think that if we did rematch, I would beat him. But if he's watching this video and wants to rematch me, I'd encourage him to friend me, invite or whisper me on ESO, and then invite me to rematch, and I'll record that, and I would love to do that for him, because this was a close and a very, very fun game for most of the game. As you can see here, though, every time I raided him, it had a massively, massively negative impact on his economy, while for the most part I was able to keep my economy growing. Not to mention, it looked like from there that he didn't build his mosque, which really, really weakened him and allowed me to win the game, because he had a kind of a villager cap. Also, I had more market upgrades than him, so that also led to his demise. So he was by no means a pro player. Unfortunately, not to be rude, it's just a fact. But before I leave today, let me give you the quote of the day. If you know the enemy and know yourself, your victory will not stand in doubt. If you know heaven and know earth, you will make your victory complete. That is from Sun Tzu in The Art of War. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is BTM. I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. We're going to keep uploading, and until next time, good luck and happy hunting.